Hi guys, welcome back to another Animal Adventures with Jordan every Tuesday and Thursday at noon. And our species spotlight today, many of you have been waiting for it, and it is on our African sulcata or African spur-thighed tortoises. Now these tortoises obviously live in Africa. That's your cue, guys. They live in Africa, and they're one of the larger species of tortoise out there. In fact, they are the third largest species in the world. Can anybody yell out the number one? Keep running it.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Can anybody yell out the largest species of tortoise in the world? Galapagos. Very good. So now the African spur-thighed or the sulcatas, like I said, they get quite massive. This big guy here is upwards of just about how big they get, although they can get even larger. Some of the largest ones reported are about 3 feet long and about 2 feet high. And they can weigh up to like 200 pounds. They get absolutely huge. Now these guys can live us also a very, very long time. Raise your hands and I'll call on you. Give me a guess. How long do they live? Somebody raise that hand. What do you think?
80.
80. Good guess. What else?
200.
200. What else?
100.
100. Anybody else? Can you yell out the number one?
One.
There you go. All right. Kidding. So these guys, you hit it on the head. Did you read the sign?
No.
They're about 80 to 100 years old. That's about the lifespan of these guys. So they can live and outlive some of their owners if they're acquired. Now, in Africa where they live, they're a highly adapted species. They can deal with this hot, hot sun. And one of the ways they help deal with that is by finding mud wallows. You can see that a number of our guys here today are covered in some of that mud and dirt on their shells. That's because they're digging down, finding those cool, shaded areas, some of them filled with water. They wallow right inside there, and it helps regulate that body temperature. Now, on the other side of this, when it's in the fall and our tortoises are still outside, people say, oh, don't they get cold at night? Well, yes and no. Keep in mind, the sun is baking these shells all day long, and they're retaining that body heat. So as the sun goes down, that heat is still radiating through the body. However, it will dissipate in time, but soon enough that sun rises again and warms them back up. Now keep in mind, tortoises are a cold-blooded animal, so obviously whatever the air temperature is, that is going to be their minimum temperature that their body's at the time. So now talking about some more of the anatomy and physical characteristics of these guys, of course you can see their front arms here are covered in these spikes. Now these spikes are like, well, they're scales that have adapted and evolved into these very hard, almost shield-like spikes. And when a tortoise gets scared or they get nervous, where do they go? Inside. And those arms come up and they protect. They hide behind them. And that armor plating protects them so an animal can't damage the most important part of their body, which is their head. Now the same thing goes for the back side of these guys. Let's see here. On the back side, they also have large spikes on their back feet. That one's covered in mud. But same thing, they pull in and retract those back feet, bring that in, and that protects the tail and the back end of the business so they stay protected. Now, predators that might go after a tortoise in the wild, you're looking at some of your smaller animals, okay? Your jackals. Once in a while, a leopard might mess with them, maybe even a cheetah if they were really hungry. But generally, it's your smaller carnivores of Africa that are going to mess or expend those calories to get what's inside of that tortoise shell. Now, neatly enough, the tortoise shell is actually bone. It grows with them, all right? Hermit crabs leave their shells. Turtles, tortoises, that doesn't happen. This is a part of their living body. And it's very important they get a significant amount of calcium and sunlight, because that sunlight turns that vitamin D into a usable form to create that bone. It helps it develop it and grow nice and correct. Quite often, many people keep these guys as pets and they don't expose them to the right lighting, and it creates what we call pyramiding on the shell. It deforms them. It's a vitamin deficiency, just like you would have an issue if you weren't getting the right nutrition in your diet. So now moving back, talking about the shell, it is catastrophic to a tortoise if they get an injury on that shell because their vertebrae is actually fused to that shell. They can feel it when you touch them. It's almost like your fingernail. When you touch your fingernail, you can tell it's being touched, but you can still clip your fingernail without really getting hurt by it, okay? Now, other neat things about them. Where can I go with this? Okay, so we've talked a lot about people keeping them as pets. What I will tell you is every tortoise we have here, and Corey, what are we up to now?
13.
13 outside. I think we have, what, 15, 16 in the collection? A total. Every one of these tortoises have been brought to us. They've been surrendered by their prior owners. Reason being is that when you walk into a pet shop, you go to the reptile section, and you find a cute little baby tortoise that's about the size of that rock right there. And don't get me wrong, they are cute. But what happens in a matter of about 5 years, they turn into a tortoise. Come with me, Aaron, right over here. Tortoise about that size there. And then when we get to about, what, Corey, 20 some odd years old, we're getting somebody like Goliath, or our buddy Tiny Tim, who's moseying away over that direction. So what happens is these people, they get them, they're cute, but they outgrow their spaces. And it's very hard to keep a big animal like this in your home and heated to the ideal temperatures of the high 80s. So what happens, they make a phone call or drop us an email and they say, hi, can you take our tortoise? And we say, yes, of course, bring them on up. And that's how our family's grown to what it is now. Now what you're watching here, all right, is fighting, it's sparring. Those are two male tortoises going head to head, and I'm kind of glad they did that because we can show off what they use to battle with. Yeah, I know. Right under his chin here are those two long prongs, and I'm going to spin around so everyone behind me can see. See those two little prongs sticking up from that shell? All right, what these guys do is they battle one another by engaging on head-on crashes. I don't know what to call it, bashing into one another. And what happens is they try to flip over their opponent. All right, that's the dominance thing. That's how the male shows off and gets his girlfriend. So now what happens? That poor tortoise is flipped on its back. What happens? Well, guess what? They usually fix themselves. All right, it's that whole will to survive. So they'll wiggle, they'll rock, they'll kick, they'll spin. They'll wiggle backwards as much as they can until they hit a rock or something that helps flip them back over. So quite often they do correct themselves. It happens often here at Animal Adventure. We give them about 2 to 3 minutes, and we go down and help them out if they need it. So now another neat thing, quite often people will come down here and say, oh my gosh, your tortoises are giving each other piggyback rides.
Yeah, they're wrestling.
They sure are, all right?
Like
now a neat story about that is we had Tiny Tim, I think it was, and who was it? And Tony. All right. Well, they were engaged in one of those piggyback rides, and it was featured on the news, all right? And everyone came and said, oh my gosh, we saw them wrestling on the news, that's so cute. Well, some people obviously knew what was going on, and they said, oh, you're gonna have baby tortoises soon, and we said, actually, no. All but, I believe, 2 tortoises in this exhibit are males, all right? So if anything, it's good practice for now. I don't know. Once in a while, we do get a couple eggs deposited. Quite often they are dud eggs, as we call them, because our young females here really aren't producing full clutches yet. And that's what you call a group of eggs, just like our alligator eggs we talked about a few weeks ago. Now, in a normal process, when the female is mature, she's carrying a full clutch of eggs, she'll go over, dig a nest, deposit those eggs, bury them back up, and just like our alligators we had talked about a few weeks ago, the eggs are incubated inside that nest. They will hatch, and then those babies scurry up out of it on their own, and they move on and grow up as tortoises. There is no... There goes dinner. All right. There is no role... There's no role that the parents play in rearing their young, all right? Not in any stance with tortoises. So, on that note, I'm going to try to pick Goliath up here. Now, don't get me wrong. Goliath here probably weighs 100 and what? 50? 100, I'd say at least 120, 130, maybe 150 pounds. They are absolutely big, and it just shows you how large they get. So, I guess on that note, we'll wrap it up here today. Thank you for tuning in for another Tuesday, Thursday Animal Adventures with Jordan. See me on Thursday around noon. We'll do another animal. Which one will it be? We don't know. All right, we'll see you then. Take